Well, a whole lot of years ago now, back when I was 39 years old, I was elected the provincial of the Passionists. I was in charge. And to be honest with you, I wasn't really prepared for it. And I felt very insecure inside. And you know, sometimes when you feel insecure inside, you get kind of arrogant and bossy on the outside. And there was one of our Passionist priests at the time, let's say his name is Jim, it wasn't. And he did something wrong, and it really bothered me and upset me. And it made me angry, and I said, I'm going to write him a strong letter. And an older priest in the house knocked on my door, and he said, Bob, he said, could I give you a little advice? So I said, sure. He said, don't write him a letter. He says, if you write Jim a letter, it's going to be in his file for the rest of his life. He said, take him out to dinner. Have a few drinks. And then tell him. He said, it'll go so much easier. So I did. We went out. We had a couple of drinks. I said, Jim, he says, I know what you're going to say, Bob. It'll never happen again. What are you having for dessert? Well, of course, having a couple of drinks doesn't always solve everything, and sometimes it makes things a whole lot worse. But, of course, that wasn't the point. The point was the same as Jesus is trying to make in that very first line of the gospel today. If someone, your brother, your sister, sins against you, go alone. Talk to them with graciousness and with humility. You know, and so do I, that we can have so much power over someone by holding them in their very worst moment. And then we're the ones who get all bound up. We're the ones who lose our freedom. You know, there's so much, I think, to be gained by forgiveness. And this whole thing about forgive and forget, you and I both know that we can't just forget things. But we can make choices about how we remember them. When we're going to respond in a very resentful and harsh way, like writing that letter to Jim, or whether we're going to be gracious and forgiving and put it down. Not everything in life gets resolved. I work at an end-of-life care hospital. I mean, you see, not everything gets resolved. But sometimes we can just put things down kind of gently, even if we can never fix it or control it, and somehow allow it to speak to a freedom within us. Tomorrow, we're going to remember a celebration of hatred. We know, not a celebration of hatred, but an occurrence of hatred, and we know how destructive that can be. And yet, Jesus invites us not to harden our hearts, but to be open to the process of forgiveness and graciousness and love.